UFC 299 was one of the best UFC cards I have ever seen in my 8 years of watching the sport. The first fight of the night was Joanne Wood versus Marina Moroza. This was a good fight to kick off UFC 299. In the first round, it looked like Marina Moroza was gonna dominate with grappling. The second round was an absolute striking war with both ladies going back and forth, landing combinations of their own. The third round was all Joanne Wood, especially when she hit a nasty spinning back fist and almost KO'd Marina Moroza. Joanne Wood would go on to win by split decision, and she would retire as this was her last fight in the UFC. Thank you, Joanne, for all the amazing fights, and I hope you have a very bright future. The next fight was CJ Vergara versus Asu Almabayev. And I think a new contender just emerged in the featherweight division. The entire fight was all Asu Almabayev. He showed he had some really decent kicks, he showed he had some decent striking, but would dominate with his wrestling for a majority of the fight. And Asu would go on to win by unanimous decision. And I definitely think he's gonna go very far in the flyweight division. The next fight was Robelis Despain versus Josh Parisian. Oh my god. Robelis Despain is an absolute beast. He knocked out Josh in 18 seconds when he slipped after he threw a kick. He got up, wasn't even on balance, and landed two nasty hands, knocking out Josh Parisians. Robelis Despain made a statement, two in fact. I'm here, and I deserve to be respected. And I'm super excited for his future fights, because I think the dude is gonna go very far. If you are enjoying the video so far, please consider dropping a like, comment, and subscribe, as it really does help the channel grow. Even if you're commenting just to say hi, it helps. The next fight was Michelle Pereira versus Mikhail Olasechek. Michelle Pereira at 185 pounds is absolutely terrifying. A body kick followed by a punch to the gut, followed by a knee to the gut, allowed Michelle Pereira to take the back of Mikhail and choke him out. The next fight was Ian Kuntalaba versus Felipe Lins. This was a fun fight to watch. The first round was an absolute chess match between the two gentlemen, Ian landing the better punches and Felipe landing the better leg kicks. Round 2, Felipe Lins would dominate with the leg kicks and take Ian down and control him till the end of the fight. Round 3 was all Lins, controlling Ian against the cage for most of the fight. Felipe Lins would go on to win by unanimous decision. The next fight was Pedro Munoz versus Kyler Phillips. And this fight was an absolute shock. The fight was all Kyler Phillips, all 3 rounds. He outstruck Pedro the entire time, throwing together beautiful combinations, beautiful kicks. Kyler would go on to win by unanimous decision. And this was so shocking because Pedro Munoz is normally the one who's outstriking people, the guy who's throwing massive amounts of volumes, and it was crazy to see Pedro Munoz essentially get outworked by Kyler Phillips. The next fight was Mateus Gamrot versus Rafael Dos Anjos. In round 1, RDA for the first half would win with the striking. However, in the second half of round 1, Mateus Gamrot would get a takedown on RDA and essentially dominate him for the rest of the round. Round 2, Gamrot used his wrestling to grind RDA down. In round 3, Gamrot once again would dominate using his wrestling. Gamrot would go on to win by unanimous decision. And I have to say, this was very surprising because it's normally RDA who grinds people into dust. And to watch somebody outgrind RDA was just insane. Gamrot is a beast and he's gonna go very far. The next fight was Maycee Barber versus Katlyn Chookagian, or now known as Caitlin Sermonara, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Maycee Barber is a legit fighter. Round 1, Maycee Barber would defend the takedown attempts from Caitlin and was able to land some nice strikes in the clinch. Round 2, Caitlin would have the advantage striking at a distance in the first part of the round. However, Maycee would get in close, clinch, and control Caitlin against the cage for the rest of the round and land a takedown at the end of the round. Round 3, Caitlin would get an early takedown on Maycee Barber. Maycee, who's in the white shorts, managed to stand up, and once they were on the feet, Maycee Barber was able to land and outstrike Caitlin this round. Maycee would go on to win by unanimous decision. Maycee Barber is definitely on the brink of a title shot, and she has shown some massive improvement from her last fights. And if she shows this kind of massive improvement again, she's gonna be a very, very good fighter. I mean, she already is. The next fight was Jailton Almeida versus Curtis Razor Blades. Now, this fight actually genuinely surprised me. I did not see this coming. As per usual, Jailton used his far superior grappling to take down Curtis Blades and control him for the entire first round, performing mat return after mat return after mat return, or takedown after takedown depending on who you ask. Are you watching, DC? Round 2, Jailton tried to secure a single leg takedown on Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades was able to sprawl out and start delivering hammer fists to the side of Jailton's head. Jailton did not respect the power of Curtis Blades and got knocked out. Curtis would obviously win by TKO, and now Curtis finds himself at the top of the division. What's next? Who knows? The next fight was Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. This was an absolutely beautiful, beautiful fight with the highest level of striking and grappling on display. It was perfect. Round 1, Song would outstrike Petr, which was very surprising, and Song would even get a takedown. Round 2, both men would have their moments. Song would land some strikes, but Petr would ultimately land the better strikes, and Petr would also land himself a takedown. Round 3, besides an early takedown for Song, Petr would outstrike and outgrapple Song Yadong. Petr Yan would go on to win by unanimous decision, and although it did suck to see Song Yadong lose, it was very nice to see Petr Yan back in the win category. The next fight was Jack Della Maddalena versus Gilbert Burns. This was not an easy fight. Round 1 and 2 can be summed up pretty easy. Gilbert Burns would attempt to trade with Jack on the feet. Jack would start getting the advantage. Gilbert Burns would explode and get a takedown and control Jack on the ground. Round 3 looked like it was going to be more of the same. Gilbert Burns got a nice takedown, was holding Jack on the ground, but Jack was able to get up. When he escaped, he threw an absolutely nasty knee, which hurt Gilbert Burns, which allowed him to be able to finish the fight with strikes. Jack won by KO, and the crazy dude called out Shavkat Rakhmonov. Jack is an absolute legend, and I would love to see that fight. The next fight was Michael Venom Page versus Kevin Holland. Welcome to the UFC, Michael Venom Page. Round 1, MVP does what MVP does. Showboat and outstrike his opponent. Round 2, MVP slipped, which led to Kevin Holland essentially being able to take him down, almost secure a rear naked choke, but MVP would eventually work his way back up to the feet and again do what MVP does, outstrike his opponent. Round 3, again MVP would do what MVP does, outstrike his opponent. Throughout the fight, he also landed very nasty trips, which probably didn't look too good in the eyes of the judges for Kevin Holland. Michael Venom Page would go on to win by unanimous decision. It was an absolute masterclass in striking from Michael Venom Page. He showboated, got Kevin frustrated, and when Kevin would charge in, MVP would just strike. MVP is a great fighter, and I can't wait to see him fight again. Keep in mind, MVP at the end of the fight did say he does have some holes in his game that he needs to work on, which not many fighters would admit, but it's nice to see how self-aware MVP actually is. The next fight was Benoit Saint-Denis versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Dustin got that dog in him. Round 1 was all Benoit Saint-Denis. He was throwing kicks, he was doing good in the striking, he was mixing up with his takedowns, and it looked like he was gonna dominate Dustin Poirier. Round 2, Benoit Saint-Denis started the fight great again, coming at Dustin Poirier, not giving the man an inch. He utilized all his tools, once again got the fight to the ground, but Dustin Poirier was able to stand up. And here is where Benoit Saint-Denis made a big mistake. He decided to stand there and trade with Dustin Poirier, which is not something you can do. And just like I talked about in last week's breakdown, I told everybody Benoit Saint-Denis would have the advantage in the grappling department and if he mixed up his striking and his takedowns and everything else. But if he decided to trade with Dustin Poirier, he was gonna get knocked out. And that's exactly what happened. Benoit Saint-Denis underestimated Dustin Poirier, got caught with a nasty right hook, which sent him to the ground. Dustin Poirier followed it up with one more strike, which ended the fight. Dustin Poirier obviously won by KO. Dustin Poirier is at the top of the division, and he proved why he's at the top of the division. Benoit Saint-Denis will return, no doubt, and I'm pretty sure the man has a very bright future. But for now, Dustin Poirier is still the man. The next fight was the main event. It was Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Cheeto Vera. Sugar Sean O'Malley proved he's champion for a reason, and put on a phenomenal performance over Marlon Cheeto Vera. All 5 rounds went to Sugar Sean O'Malley. Sean outstruck him the whole time, landing a beautiful nasty knee, which would have knocked most people out, but Sean O'Malley just outstruck Marlon for 5 rounds straight. Marlon Cheeto Vera did manage to land a strike at literally the last 3 seconds of the round, which was a punch to O'Malley's stomach, which after the fight, O'Malley would kind of sit there for a minute, and who knows what would have happened if there was a minute left in the fight. However, we do know what happened in that 25 minutes that the fight was actually on. Sugar Sean O'Malley dominated each and every single minute. Sugar Sean O'Malley would go on to win by unanimous decision, and the dude is a lot better than people give him credit for. This was an amazing card, and it was filled with absolutely amazing fights. I wish all the fighters on the card a speedy recovery, and I hope to see them back in the octagon again soon, whether they won or whether they lost. Anyways, that's it for this one. I hope you did enjoy. Again, if you did enjoy, please drop a like, comment, and subscribe, as it really does help the channel grow, and I'd really appreciate it. At the current moment in time I'm making this video, UFC 300 is about a month away, and within that month, I want to be one of the biggest MMA YouTubers on YouTube. I would like to have 20,000 subscribers by the time UFC 300 rolls around, and I know that's a big and insane goal, but the worst thing that happens is we make some really good MMA content and we're still a successful YouTuber. We just don't hit that goal of 20,000 within a month. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, leave those down in the description below. What did you think of UFC 299? Please let me know. Anyways, that's it for this one. I love you all. I'll see you next time, and have a good one.